Okay, maybe the beginnings of my videos haven't been punchy enough, so let's get this one going with Jackie Chan and Mr. Nice Guy. Let me canvass your opinion on this one. This is Timothy Spall as Turner in Mike Leigh's Mr. Turner. Judi Dench and Billy Connolly in Mrs. Brown. Annette Bening and Ben Kingsley in Mrs. Harris. And Diane Keaton and Mel Gibson in Mrs. Soffel, directed by Gillian Armstrong. Another Shakespearean adaptation from Kenneth Branagh. This is Much Ado About Nothing. A really good drama, this one, directed by Jeff Nichols, Matthew McConaughey in Mud. A favourite movie for many, this is David Lynch's Mulholland Drive. And Timothy Hutton in Multiple Sarcasms. The Hammer Studios classic The Mummy from 1959, directed by Terence Fisher. And a collector's set here of The Mummy films, starring Brendan Fraser. As well as the fourth one, The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Family classic, The Muppet Movie. And directed by Bob Clark, who did Black Christmas. This is Christopher Plummer and James Mason in the Sherlock Holmes drama Murder by Decree. Prison drama Murder in the First with Christian Slater and Kevin Bacon. And the wonderful Margaret Rutherford playing Miss Marple in Murder at the Gallop. Another one from Hammer Studios, this is Murder by Proxy. And Margaret Rutherford back again as Miss Marple in Murder Most Foul. Tom Berenger and Cuba Gooding Jr. in A Murder of Crows. And directed by Sidney Lumet, this has Albert Finney as Hercule Poirot in Murder on the Orient Express. Margaret Rutherford once again as Miss Marple in Murder, She Said. And Toni Collette and Eddie Redmayne in Murderous Intent. Directed by Gino Swark, who did Jaws 2. This is The Murders in the Rue Morgue with Val Kilmer and George C. Scott. And directed by J. Lee Thompson, Charles Bronson, Murphy's Law. Peter O'Toole in Murphy's War, directed by Peter Yates. And what's this? A violinist drama directed by Wes Craven, horror director. Music of the Heart. Charles Lawton, Clark Gable in Mutiny on the Bounty. And the 1962 remake with Marlon Brando and Trevor Howard. Written by Hanif Qureshi and directed by Stephen Frears, this is Daniel Day-Lewis in My Beautiful Laundrette. And from the director of Monsieur Ear, Patrice Leconte, this is My Best Friend with Daniel Auteuil. My Bloody Valentine in 3D, and here's the 3D glasses. And from director Wong Kar-wai, My Blueberry Nights, Jude Law, Natalie Portman and Norah Jones. From the incredibly gutsy documentary maker Laura Poitras, this is My Country, My Country. And Peter Dinklage and Jamie Dornan in My Dinner with Hervé, about Hervé Villechaize. From Marcel Pagnol, the same writer who did Jean de Florette and Manon des Sources, this is My Father's Castle. And James Garner and Jack Lemmon in My Fellow Americans. A young Roddy McDowall there in My Friend Flicker. And Sarah Polley, My Life Without Me. My Mother's Castle, the companion to My Father's Castle. Really fascinating one, this. I'll perhaps do a special video on this one. Came out in 2019. Probably not too many people have seen it. It's called My Mexican Bretzel, directed by Nuria Gimenez. It's the only film that I've written to Criterion about to suggest that they add to their collection. Unlikely, I know, but there you go. But I'll explain the reasons why. Terence Hill and Henry Fonda, My Name is Nobody. I absolutely love this movie, My Side of the Mountain, about a young boy who is confident enough, based on his knowledge of nature, to just leave his parents and go and live off in the wilds for a while. It's a really, really fantastic film, a superb entertainment for families. Directed by Nick Cassavetes, this is My Sister's Keeper. And directed by Jay Roach, who did the Austin Powers movies. This is Mystery Alaska with Russell Crowe. Not your average superheroes. These are the Mystery Men. An Oscar-winning drama from Clint Eastwood, starring Sean Penn and Tim Robbins, Mystic River. Mystery Island, a Ray Harryhausen classic directed by Cy Endfield. And John Hurt portrays Quentin Crisp in The Naked Civil Servant. Leslie Nielsen in the Naked Gun trilogy. And The Namesake, directed by Mira Nair, who also directed Mississippi Marsala. Music score on this one by Nitin Sawhney. Children's movie, Emma Thompson in Nanny McPhee and The Big Bang. And Emmanuel Béart and Gérard Depardieu in Natalie. John Belushi classic in National Lampoon's Animal House. Chevy Chase, National Lampoon's Vacation. Martin Lawrence in National Security. And ethereal baseball drama this, directed by Barry Levinson, starring Robert Redford, The Natural. Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers with Woody Harrelson. And a musical with Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy, Naughty Marietta. Charlie Sheen and Michael Biehn are Navy SEALs. And definitely one of my favourite vampire movies, directed by Catherine Bigelow and with a number of cast members who came from Aliens. This is Near Dark. Catherine Deneuve and William Hurt in Nearest to Heaven. And directed by Alexander Payne. This is Bruce Dern in Nebraska. Samuel L. Jackson and Kevin Spacey in The Negotiator, directed by F. Gary Gray. And John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd in Neighbours. This was remade with Seth Rogen and Zac Efron. Jodie Foster and Liam Neeson in Nell, directed by Michael Apted. Emma Roberts and Dave Franco in Nerve. Still Mad as Hell and Not Taking It Anymore. This is Peter Finch in Sidney Lumet's Network. And an atypically mean role for Peter Sellers in Never Let Go, directed by John Gilliman. Talked about this one before in my video on the filmography of John Gilliman. Melina Mercouri in Never on Sunday, directed by Jules Dassin. And directed by Eliza Hittman. This is a really excellent drama about unwanted pregnancy in Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always. Sean Connery returns. Never say never again. Rebecca De Mornay and Antonio Banderas, Never Talk to Strangers. Children's classic directed by Wolfgang Peterson, The Never-Ending Story. And Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, A New Kind of Love. Wesley Snipes and Ice-T in New Jack City, directed by Mario Van Peebles. And executive produced by Spike Lee, this is New Jersey Drive. Jet Li in The New Legend of Shaolin. And Jackie Chan in New Police Story. From director Abel Ferrara, this is Willem Dafoe and Christopher Walken in New Rose Hotel. Still haven't watched this, notoriously bad it's meant to be, but New Year's Eve, directed by Gary Marshall, all-star cast. And another all-star cast in New York, I Love You. Robert De Niro and Liza Minnelli in Martin Scorsese's New York, New York. And from horror movie Lucio Fulci, this is The New York Ripper. George Peppard in 70s thriller Newman's Law, directed by Richard Heffron. And Patrick Swayze in Next of Kin, directed by John Irvin. From director Paul Mazursky, this is Next Stop, Greenwich Village. A nice performance from Marilyn Monroe in this one, alongside Joseph Cotton, Niagara. Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling in Shane Black's The Nice Guys. And Rick Springfield in a pilot movie for an intended series that ended up not actually starring him. This is Nick Knight. Cary Grant as Cole Porter in Night and Day. And John Hurt and Beau Bridges in Disney's Night Crossing. Pretty good performance from Miguel Ferrer in this one, Stephen King's Night Flyer. And Shopping's More Important Than Zombies in Night of the Comet. George Peppard and Michael York in Night of the Fox, adapted from a novel by Jack Higgins. And Peter O'Toole in World War II drama The Night of the Generals. From director Billy August, this is Jeremy Irons in Night Train to Lisbon. And from 1981, Sylvester Stallone and Rutger Hauer in cop thriller Nighthawks. From director Jennifer Kent, who did The Babadook, this is her follow-up, The Nightingale. And Guillermo del Toro's remake of the classic film noir Nightmare Alley. I don't actually have the original in my collection, but I have seen it. Great movie, but I do really like del Toro's approach on this one. I know a lot of people didn't like it, thought it was too flashy. I'm not one of them. I think it's great. This was always great when I first saw it at the cinema. Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street. And from director Tikur Bekmambetov, this is his double bill of Night Watch and Day Watch. Martin Freeman as Rembrandt in Peter Greenaway's Night Watching. And directed by Adrian Lyne, this is the steamy and erotic, well, not really, drama 9.5 Weeks with Kim Basinger and Mickey Rourke. All-star cast including Glenn Close and Holly Hunter, Sissy Spacek, Joe Mantegna, and others in 9 Lives. Directed by Michael Radford and with music by the Eurythmics. This is John Hurt in 1984, Richard Burton's last performance. Steven Spielberg's controversial Misfire, this is 1941. And from director Bernardo Bertolucci, this is his epic 1900 with Robert De Niro and Gerard Depardieu. World War I one-take movie, 1917, with cinematography by Roger Deakins, directed by Sam Mendes. Michael Shannon and Andrew Garfield in 99 Homes. Nigel Davenport in this one from director Cornell Wilde. This is No Blade of Grass. And Scorsese documentary on Bob Dylan, No Direction Home. Owen Wilson, Lake Bell and Pierce Brosnan in No Escape. And Charlie Sheen nicking Porsches in No Man's Land. Great little western this, with Audie Murphy, No Name on the Bullet, directed by Jack Arnold, who also did Creature from the Black Lagoon. And Daniel Craig's final outing as James Bond, No Time to Die. Sidney Poitier and Richard Widmark in this Fox film noir, No Way Out. And Kevin Costner was having a great run in the 80s as a box office star. This is No Way Out with Sean Young and Gene Hackman. Bob Odenkirk decides he's not too old to be John Wick in Nobody. Good one. And low-key drama directed by Robert Benton. This is Paul Newman in Nobody's Fool. Love this movie, talked about it before. Norma Ray, Oscar-winning performance from Sally Field, and a really great performance also from Ron Liebman. His name should be showing here. And from Disney, The North Avenue Irregulars. Okay, I'll leave it there. There is a playlist on my channel, so you can follow along that way. Please, like and subscribe if you can. I'm just trying to reach movie lovers, because I'm showing all types of movies here, and I know that there are movie lovers out there, but I'm only a small channel. Okay, thanks very much for watching this one. Leave me any comments you have on these films, and I hope to see you again. All the best. Bye-bye.